skillful labor. If you just talk to your family, you can hold them all together. If you skillfully talk to your children, you can help them build dreams for the future. Skillful language. That's why I spend so much time on the weekend, especially on communication, affecting other people with words. You can't be lazy in language. It costs too much. What if you meant to say to someone you care about? What if you meant to say, what's troubling you? And instead you said, what's wrong with you? Wow, that's too big a mistake. And sure, you could have made that mistake 10 years ago, but not now. You should have gotten much better by now in language and communication. Come on, we need the skills to help build our family's dreams. We need the skills to stir up an enterprise and make it successful. We need skills to build equities for the future. Skills of all kinds. Skills multiplies labor by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10, by 50, by 100. Hey, you can chop the tree down with a hammer, but it takes about 30 days. Called what? Labor. But if you trade the hammer for an axe, you can chop the tree down in about 30 minutes. What's the difference between 30 days and 30 minutes? Skills. Skills makes the difference. So I'm asking you, pleading with you, number one, do what you can. Clean up all the neglect. And number two, don't settle for the best, less than the best you can do. The best you can do will start working miracles. Multiply your muscle by 10. Multiply your money by 10. Multiply your relationship with your family in terms of equities by 5, by 10, by 50, by 100. And if you're interested in that, you can start the journey today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can start today. You don't have to wait till spring. You don't have to wait for some convenient year. This is the best year I know of to start. Put yourself through an activity plan. All right. Now here's number 4. Finally, we've gotten to number 4. Number 4 of the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. I call it results. Results. Every once in a while we've got to look at the results to see if our philosophy is working. To see if our attitude is working. One of the reasons for measuring results is to see what's working and to see what isn't working. To see if your disciplines are on track. They're either on track or what? Off track, depending on results. Now take this phrase home. Results is the name of the game. What other game is there except to work on philosophy and attitude and discipline so that you can produce results? What is the reason for the seasons? To see what you can do with them. Why the seed and the soil and the sunshine and the rain and the turn of seasons and the miracle of life? Why all of that? Here's why all of that. To see what you can do with it. Results. Now here's all life asks us to do concerning results. Here it is, simple phrase. It's one of the best I got for the day. Life only asks us to do this. Make measurable progress in reasonable time. Just jot that down. Make measurable progress in reasonable time. That's what life asks us to do. So number 1, you've got to be reasonable with time to ask for a measure, weigh, and account on results. Don't be unreasonable with time, parents. Don't be unreasonable with time, managers, brokers, business associates. Have a little patience. Okay? You can't ask somebody every 5 minutes, how are you doing now? That's too soon. Guy says, I haven't left the building yet. Give me a break. So 5 minutes is too soon to ask. Now 5 years is what? Too long and too late. So what is reasonable time to ask for results and a measure? Here's number 1 at the end of the day. You can't let more than a day go by without getting some things done, some letters written, a father's conversation with a daughter. You can't postpone the important more than a day. If you work on a job, some things you've got to get done within a day. You've got to make some calls within a day. Your health disciplines, you've got to get those done within a day. You can't carry over. Say, well, I'll eat 9 apples, 10 days from now. No. It's an apple a day. Some things you've got to get done within A day. So 5 minutes to midnight, you haven't got your apple yet? Munch away. Get it done. A day. Now here's next, a week. Some things you got to get done within a week. Stuff on the job, calls made, activities. A week is a good chunk of time. Can't let more than a week go by without taking a look and taking a measure and see how you're doing. John joins this little sales company. Supposed to make 10 calls first week just to get acquainted out there in the marketplace. Would it be legitimate to call John in on Friday and say what? How many calls did you make? That's called legitimate. It's legitimate time to ask for a measurable amount of progress. Supposed to make 10 calls. Friday, John, how many calls? John says, well. You say, John, well won't fit in my little box here. I just need what? A number. Now John starts with a story. You say, John, the reason I made this little box so small is so a story won't fit. I don't need a story. I just need what? A number. Now here's one of the better phrases to take home. The numbers tell us the whole story. On you personally. The numbers tell us the whole story. Success is a numbers game. Show started right away with me on numbers. Let me give you 3 of the questions he asked me. He asked me a lot more, but here's 3 of the most important. Question number 1, Show said, Mr. Rohn, you've been working 6 years. Age 19 now, it's 25. Question, how much money have you saved and invested the last 6 years? I'll give you time to jot these questions down because these are important. 3 of the most important questions he asked me. How much money have you saved and invested the last 6 years? And I said what? 0. He said, who sold you on that plan? I said to myself, my gosh, the man's right. I'm a nice guy and I love my family, but I bought the wrong plan. Doesn't this 0 tell the story? I'm definitely off track. Second question. Show said, Mr. Rohn, you want to be successful and powerful and sophisticated and healthy and influential, a hero to your family. Question, in the last 90 days, how many books have you read? Invest in the miracle of your mind. Give you ideas to ponder. Fashion your future with meticulous care. How many books have you read in that process the last 90 days? And I said what? 0. I said, yeah, but you don't understand. These negative relatives are putting me down. Those Democrats have got things messed up. Third question. Shoaff said, Mr. Rohn, in the last 6 months, how many classes have you taken to improve your skills or to develop new skills? For your future and your family, how many classes in the last 6 months? And I said what? 0. 3 excellent questions. I'm striking out. I got zeros on all those questions. Shoaff said, Mr. Rohn, unless you cure these numbers, you're headed for disaster. 6 years from now, you won't just be broke. You'll be double broke. Wow, I started turning these numbers around. The next 90 days, I became a reader. I started taking some classes. I started investing in my library. I started putting my money away. I started a brand new financial plan, which I'll discuss with you in that next seminar, how to become financially independent. I'm telling you, numbers tell us everything. Success is a numbers game. We demand it of our children. How many years do you want your child to spend in 4th grade? Approximately. What? About 1. You say, well, if they're nice kids, would you give them 3 or 4 years? You say, no. It's not a beauty contest, getting ready for the world, making your way financially, socially, personally. You can't spend more than 1 year in 1 grade. It's unacceptable. And if it looks like they're not going to make it, what do? Pour on the pressure, family pressure, peer pressure, school pressure, every other kind of pressure. Teacher pressure. Why? Can't stay here more than 1 year. You got to learn this stuff and move along to the next grade. And if we demand it of our kids, parents, we got to demand it of ourselves. You got to make progress in reasonable time. You got to take a look at the numbers and see how you're doing. It's the name of the game. How often should you weigh the new baby? You say, well, next spring we'll weigh the baby. No, you can't wait till next spring. Don't you have to weigh the new baby often? The answer is yes, of course, to see what? Is it gaining weight or what? Losing weight. What if it's losing weight? The alarm bells have got to go off. You can't let a little baby lose weight very long. It's called disaster. These numbers are important. How often should you check the corporation? See if it's healthy or not. You say, well, in a couple of years we'll get all the accountants together. No, you'll be out of business. In Las Vegas, the big gambling houses, guess how often they put together a financial statement to see where they are? Several times a day. Why? So much is happening. If you don't learn when to shut down some of those tables, you'll be out of business by midnight. You can't wait till midnight. You can't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow's too late. You got to know the numbers. What is your cholesterol count? You don't know and you don't care. You've just got your fingers crossed for the future. We better come get your family. Take them to safety. Come on. Be responsible for the set of your own sail. Leave it to no one else but yourself, and learn to refine these numbers yourself. How many pounds overweight should you be at age 50? John says, well, I got big bones. Well, we'll give you 10 pounds for big bones. But hey, 25, 30 pounds, we got to turn on the caution light flashing at home and at the office. Somebody says, what's that flashing caution light? That John's up about 20, 25 pounds. 35, 40 pounds. Flashing red light at home and at the office. Somebody says, what's that flashing red light? Say, John's up about 40 pounds. 50-pound siren. Somebody says, what's that siren? Say, John's over 50 pounds. I'm asking you to take charge of your own life. Take charge of your own retirement. Take charge of your own health. Don't just drift along with the crowd who don't care and don't care to be responsible about being meticulous about the numbers. Some of these numbers have got to be coming down like your cholesterol. Some of these numbers have got to be going up like the number of books in your library. And don't be satisfied until you've looked at all your own numbers and be responsible. Don't wait for somebody to come along. Fortunately, I had somebody come along at age 25. But what if nobody comes along? You got to be responsible yourself. Seek out the information. If you search, you can find it. Motivation. Here's what's really important. Self-motivation. Guy says, boy, if somebody had just come by and turned me on. What if they don't show up? You've got to have a better plan for your life. Are you just going to sit in the shadows and wish the rest of your life? The answer is no. I'm telling you, you got to get up. You got to do something about it. Become self-motivated. Become self-educated. Seek out the books. Don't wait for somebody to come by and just put them on you and say, oh, please buy. I'm asking you to go search for them. Go look for them. An ancient phrase says, if you search, you will find. Here's how it also reads. In order to find, you must search. Like you did today. Come searching. I appreciate that. Rarely does a good idea interrupt you. You got to go looking for it. You got to go to church and see if you can find it. You got to go to the library and see if you can find it. You got to come to seminars like this and see if you can find it. You got to get the books and read and see if you can find it. You got to listen to the cassettes and see if you can find it. And it says, if you will search, you'll find some good ideas to change your health. You'll find some good ideas to change your ability to get promoted. You'll find some good ideas to change your income, change your future, change the amount of properties you own. I'm telling you, you'll find it. Results is the name of the game. Let's check the numbers. Don't be satisfied with anything less than the best of numbers. Jesus walked along one day with his disciples, saw a fig tree. Interesting story. And as Jesus looked suspiciously at this fig tree, he said to his disciples, Does that fig tree have any figs? Do you think that's an important question? I'm telling you, for a fig tree, it's the all-important question. Does it have any figs? His disciples said to Jesus, "No, sir, of all the trees you were to pick, this particular fig tree does not have any figs." The story said Jesus lost his cool. One of the few times he lost his cool. Why? I think to make a point. A fig tree without figs, it is unacceptable. Jesus swiftly said, "I suggest if that fig tree doesn't have any figs, I suggest you promptly take it out." And he added, "Why let it take up the desk? I mean the ground." So you got to get all your folks together every once in a while and say, "Today we're counting the figs." What for? To see who gets to stay. Why? It's the name of the game. Ancient story said a master had 3 servants, and he gave them talents. One of the most extraordinary stories ever recorded. The story of the talents. In those days, a talent was a measure of gold, or it could be money, or any value. And he said to his 3 servants, now in those days it was not a servant like we would consider a servant, but a caretaker. And the master said to his caretakers, "Take these talents, these values, and see what you can do with them. I'm off on a journey. I'll be gone for a while. When I get back, we'll go over the numbers." They all said, "Okay." So before he left, he gave one of these servants 5 of these values. He gave another servant 2, and he gave another servant 1. Now, why the difference in number? We don't know. What do you know? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. But kids would come up with the obvious. What's the obvious up here? They all had something. There were no zeros up there. And I got to say that to this audience this afternoon. There's no zeros here. You wouldn't have gotten this far, showed up, parting with your cash and your time. Everybody here's got something. Doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, or 5. Who cares as long as you got something to work with? I usually take the simple approach. The obvious is best for me. The guy says to me, "Well, this happens to me, and this happens to me, and all this goes wrong for me. How come all this happens to me?" I say, "Beats me." All I've been able to figure out is those kind of things always happen to people like you. What do I know? I'm no genius. But here's what I do know based on my own experience. If you will change, everything will change for you. Don't keep crossing your fingers and hoping the wind will change. Go to the library. Get you a card. Find this little book, Richest Man in Babylon. Attend more seminars. Buy more cassettes and more books. Attend more sermons. Listen to more dialogue. The lyrics of songs. Get yourself better educated. And I'm telling you, you can change anything you want to change. If you'll change, it'll all change. If you change, your ability to be promoted will change. If you don't change, it isn't going to change. You'll have to be satisfied with the same problems you got today over the last 5 years. They're going to continue the next 5. But if you'll change, it'll all change. So what the numbers? Here was the master's instructions. Whatever I gave you, see what you can do with it. When I come back, let's have an accounting. Story said he went away, came back from his journey, and he got the 3 together after he got back and said, "What happened?" This servant said, "I turned the 5 you gave me into 10. How about that? How do you go from 5 to 10? It's a miracle. Master said what? Good numbers. 5 to 10. Then he asked this servant, "I gave you 2. What happened?" This servant said, "I went from 2 to 4. Now, he didn't go from 2 to 10, but he at least went from 2 to 4. Here's what I've got to ask you to do in all maturity, since this is a fairly mature audience. In all maturity, someday you've got to put together your at least list. How can you live with yourself by the end of the year unless you at least what? At least. Next year, at least, to have the admiration of your family, at least, put together your at least list. Don't let yourself off the hook with less than you can do, less than you can perform. You don't have to go to 10, but if you got 2, you got to go to 4. Now the master said to the third servant, I gave you one value, what happened? That servant said, I've still got that same value. Story said, the master lost his cool. Took a page out of Jesus' book. Why? I think to make a point, 1-to-1, unacceptable. In fact, the master said in his rage, take that value away from this person and give it to the one that's got 10. Now, why do that? We don't know. What do you know? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Here's all we know based on experience. It keeps happening. That's all we know. Now, kids would come up with the obvious. They'd probably say, well, that's probably the best thing to do. Why? If you give this talent to this person that's got 10, what will he probably do with it based on experience? He'll probably turn it into 2, 3, 5. Then if he has to, he can easily take care of this poor guy. We've all learned, haven't we, the wisdom of an ancient script. Here's what it says. Whatever you don't use, you lose. You're not entitled to it anymore. You got gifts you don't use. You got brains you don't use. You got strength you don't use. You got intelligence you don't use. You got some drive you put on the shelf not using anymore. I'm telling you, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. 10 years from now, it's called wipeout. Enough years and it's called disaster. Sit in your own shadows while the others walk in the light. I'm telling you, it's time to consider it. Life change starts with a consideration of this kind of stuff. Results is the name of the game. Now here's number 5. Isn't this good stuff? This is valuable. I'm getting a lot out of this seminar. I should have paid to get in. Here's number 5. After results, the 5th piece of the 5 major pieces is called lifestyle. Lifestyle now is the ultimate challenge of life. And here's the clue to lifestyle. Take your results and, jot this word down, fashion. Fashion for yourself a good life. Fashion, like weaving a tapestry. A good life must be woven with care. It doesn't just happen by accident.